Here is the truth that most nurseries will never tell you. The plants filling the front tables every spring, the ones in the bright pots with the pretty tags, are chosen because they look good in the store. Not because they look good in your yard in August. Not because they are still performing in September when everything else has collapsed. They are chosen because they sell fast, and that is a very different standard than the one you actually need when you are trying to build a garden that holds colour from late spring through the first hard frost. These 10 perennials are different. Every single one of them blooms for months, not weeks. At least 6 of them most American gardeners have never planted. And number 4 on this list is a native wildflower that produces more butterfly landings per square foot than almost any other perennial you can put in the ground. And most people walk right past it at the nursery without a second glance. Subscribe to Garden Reality right now. This channel delivers the kind of information that saves you real money, real time, and real frustration. The next video on this channel is something every gardener in this country needs to watch before they spend a single dollar this season. Subscribe so it finds you the moment it goes live. Number 1 is Gaillardia, the blanket flower. Most gardeners who have tried this one gave up on it too early, and that is a genuine loss. Because a fully established Gaillardia is one of the most relentless bloomers in the entire perennial world. The flowers are bold, burning combinations of deep red and golden yellow, with a daisy form that radiates heat and energy from every direction. This is not a subtle plant. It does not whisper. It shouts colour from June straight through October without apology. Hardy in zones 3 through 10, which gives it one of the broadest climate ranges of any perennial on this list. Full sun, lean soil, sharp drainage. Those 3 conditions are the whole formula. Give Gaillardia rich amended soil and it actually performs worse, putting energy into foliage instead of flowers. Plant it where the soil is a little sandy, a little hungry, and this plant rewards you with non-stop blooms that only intensify as the season runs longer. Deadhead the spent flowers regularly in June and July, and by August, the plant is carrying so many open blooms at once that it looks almost unreal. Goldfinches descend on the seed heads in fall, so leave a few standing as summer winds down. The birds will find them within days. Number 2 is Coreopsis, threadleaf. Not the old wide-leafed varieties that flopped in the heat and looked tired by midsummer. The threadleaf varieties, Coreopsis verticillata, are a completely different category of plant, and they have quietly become one of the most reliable long bloomers in American perennial gardens over the past 20 years. The foliage is fine and feathery, almost fern-like, and the flowers are small, golden yellow stars that cover the plant so completely in early summer that you can barely see the leaves underneath. Moonbeam is the variety most American gardeners know. It produces soft butter yellow flowers that glow with a warmth that reads beautifully against deep purples and blues in a border. Zagreb is the other one to know, a richer golden yellow on a slightly more compact plant. Both bloom from late May through September with a brief rest period in midsummer heat. Cut the whole plant back by half in mid-July when that pause comes, and within 3 weeks it returns with a second flush that carries clean through to frost. Zones 3 through 9, full sun. Drought tolerant once established to a degree that will surprise you. Small native bees work these flowers constantly from the moment they open. Number 3 is Nausea, the crimson pincushion. This is the plant that confuses people every single time it shows up in a garden tour, and the confusion is always the same. People see the deep burgundy red flowers nodding on long wiry stems, and they assume it must be exotic, must be difficult, must require some special care they do not know about. It is none of those things. Canautia macedonica is a tough, adaptable, long-blooming perennial that most American gardeners have simply never encountered because it has not been aggressively marketed the way easier sellers have been. The flowers are a deep wine crimson produced prolifically on stems that reach 2 to 3 feet and sway beautifully in any breeze. They bloom from late May through September, and the more you cut them for the house, the more the plant pushes out. Hardy in zones 5 through 9. Plant it in the middle of a border, where those tall stems can move naturally and the colour can be appreciated against lighter plants behind it. Painted lady butterflies are particularly drawn to it from July onward. If you have never grown this one, this is the season to find it. It will become one of the plants your visitors ask about every single time. Number 4 is Monarda, wild bergamot. Before you decide this one is too familiar, stop. The Monarda most American gardeners planted 10 years ago developed powdery mildew by July and looked like a disaster by August. That problem has been almost entirely solved by newer varieties, and the plant that remains is one of the most ecologically important perennials you can put in the ground anywhere in this country. Varieties like Grape Gumbel, Pardon My Purple, and Leading Lady Plum stay clean and compact all season without the mildew issues that frustrated an earlier generation of gardeners. The flowers are intricate, layered, and genuinely beautiful in shades of lavender, deep purple, and soft pink depending on the variety you choose. Bloom runs from July through September, right in the window when most gardens are struggling hardest for colour. Hardy in zones 3 through 9. And here is what the nursery tag will not tell you. At peak bloom in late July and early August, a mass planting of Monarda attracts more species of native bees, bumblebees, hoverflies, and butterflies per square foot than almost any other perennial in a typical American garden. Ruby-throated hummingbirds in the east treat it as a primary nectar source. Plant 3 or more together in a sunny to partly shady spot, with consistent moisture, and the activity around those flowers in summer will stop you in your tracks every time you walk past. Number 5 is Liatris, the blazing star. This is a native American prairie plant that has been largely overlooked in home gardens, and that is genuinely difficult to explain, because Liatris does something almost no other perennial does. The flower spikes open from the top down instead of from the bottom up, which gives the plant a movement and dynamism in the border that static bloomers cannot replicate. The colour is an intense rosy purple that holds its saturation even in full summer sun without fading or washing out. Spicata varieties bloom from July through September. Aspera varieties run later, carrying into October in most US climates. Plant them together and you extend the show significantly. Hardy in zones 3 through 9, with a drought tolerance once established that makes them ideal for the hot, dry stretches of late summer that collapse more tender perennials around them. Monarch butterflies migrating south in August and September stop at Liatris specifically. A yard with a mass planting of this in late summer is a genuine way station on one of the most extraordinary natural events on this continent. Swallowtails, fritillaries, and skippers work the flowers from the moment they open. Plant Liatris in a sunny, well-drained spot and then leave it entirely alone. It does not need or want your attention. It just performs. If this list is giving you real, usable information, share this video with one gardening friend right now. They need these plants just as much as you do, and finding them on their own could take years. Number 6 is Rudbeckia maxima, the giant coneflower. Not the standard Rudbeckia hirta you already know. Rudbeckia maxima is the tall, dramatic, architectural version of that plant, and it is almost entirely absent from American home gardens, despite being one of the most visually spectacular perennials available in this country. The flowers rise on stems that reach 5 to 6 feet. The petals are golden yellow, and they drop dramatically downward from a large, raised, dark cone that stands proud and distinctive above everything around it. The blue-green foliage at the base is broad and striking even before the plant blooms. Bloom runs from July through September. Hardy in zones 4 through 9. Plant it at the back of a border where that height commands the whole composition or mass it at the edge of a meadow area where the vertical presence reads from a distance. Goldfinches treat the seed heads as a primary food source from September through December, which means this plant earns its place in the garden long after the flowers are finished. It is the combination of those two performances, the summer flower show and the winter wildlife value, that makes Rudbeckia maxima one of the most undervalued perennials in the country. Number 7 is Persicaria, red bistort. This is the plant that solves the problem no one talks about openly, but every gardener feels. The midsummer garden has height at the back, something low at the front, and an awkward empty middle that nothing seems to fill with sustained colour. Persicaria amplexicalis fills that middle with a density and a reliability that is almost unmatched in the perennial world. The flowers are slender pokers of deep crimson red, produced on stems that reach 3 to 4 feet, and they bloom from July through October with a persistence that outlasts almost everything planted around them. Hardy in zones 4 through 8. Consistent moisture helps, but established plants handle drier conditions better than their lush appearance suggests. The variety Firetail produces the most intense flower colour of any selection currently available to American gardeners, and it is the one to ask for by name at the nursery. Plant it in front of ornamental grasses where those crimson spikes create a contrast that looks designed rather than accidental. Bees of every size work the flowers from July onward. This is one of those plants that earns more admiration every single year it is in the ground. Number 8 is Sanguisorba, the burnet. Most American gardeners cannot identify this plant by name, even if they have seen it growing in a botanical garden, and every single one of them stopped to look at it when they walked past. That is the particular kind of underrated that makes Sanguisorba one of the most exciting plants on this list. The flowers are small, bottle brush-shaped pompons in deep burgundy, rich pink or creamy white depending on the variety, held on slender, elegant stems that move with extraordinary grace in any wind. They bloom from midsummer through fall, September into October in most US climates, giving Sanguisorba one of the latest reliable bloom windows of any perennial on this list. Hardy in zones 4 through 8. The variety Tanner produces deep wine-red flowers on a compact 2-foot plant that works in smaller gardens where the taller species would be overwhelming. Mentor produces flowers in the same rich colour on stems that reach 3 feet and sway with a quality that no photograph fully captures. You have to see it moving in a breeze to understand why designers reach for it. Small native bees and hoverflies that cannot access larger flowers work Sanguisorba constantly from the moment it opens. Number 9 is Veronica, the spiked speedwell, not the spreading ground cover. The upright garden Veronica, the one with the tall spikes that hold their colour and their structure through weeks of bloom, without flopping, without fading, without the kind of mid-season collapse that makes you question why you planted something in the first place. Varieties like Moody Blues Dark and First Love produce dense spikes of deep violet blue and soft pink respectively from June through September. The colour holds in full summer heat without washing out, which is rarer than it should be in the perennial world. Hardy in zones 3 through 8. Full sun, good drainage, and consistent moisture during establishment. Veronica performs especially well in the Pacific Northwest and New England, where cooler summers let the bloom window extend further into fall than it does in hotter climates. Plant it in drifts of 3 or 5, never as a single specimen, because the visual weight of a massed planting in full bloom is entirely different from one plant performing alone. Bumblebees and long-tongued native bees work these spikes intensively from the moment the first flowers open. Number 10 is Rulia, the wild petunia. This is the Native American perennial that deserves 10 times the attention it currently gets from American gardeners and receives almost none. Ruelia humilis grows wild across the eastern half of this country in dry open meadows and rocky slopes. It is a plant that evolved to thrive in conditions that defeat more pampered perennials. And in a home garden setting, that evolutionary toughness translates directly into performance. The flowers are soft lavender, with delicate veining, trumpet-shaped, and produced continuously from June through October, without deadheading, without cutting back, without any intervention on your part. Hardy in zones 4 through 9, full sun to part shade, dry to medium soil. This is a plant that asks almost nothing and delivers months of colour and pollinator activity that will surprise you completely. Ruby-throated hummingbirds find it fast. Native bees work it from morning to late afternoon, and the plant itself stays clean, tidy, and attractive all season without any of the midsummer fatigue that undermines so many other long bloomers. It spreads modestly by self-seeding into a natural colony over time. Let it. The effect is a wildflower meadow quality that looks entirely deliberate. That is all 10, Gaillardia to Ruelia. 10 perennials that do not give up on you in August, do not leave your yard empty through September, and do not require you to keep spending money every spring to maintain colour. These plants come back, they bloom long, they feed the bees, the butterflies, and the hummingbirds that make a garden feel genuinely alive instead of just arranged. The difference between a yard that holds colour from Memorial Day through frost and one that peaks in June and disappears is not a bigger budget. It is not a larger space. It is knowing which plants actually deliver across the full season. And now you know exactly which 10 to reach for. Subscribe to Garden Reality right now if this list gave you real, usable information. Because what just happened in this video happens here every single day. No filler, no repeating the same 3 plants everyone already knows. Zone-specific, experience-backed content that saves you real time and real money in the garden. Next on Garden Reality, the 7 perennials you should stop buying immediately and what to plant instead. It goes live this next. If you are not subscribed, it will not find you. Hit that button now.